Welcome to the presentation on comprehensive analysis about Mr. President Free Pussy Riot done by Dollar Hunter. Initially, let's move on to the introduction of the specific situation about the case. Russia is a communist country. The government has a significant impact on the country's economy. The free flow of the economy is restricted by the government's intervention. Therefore, it's impacting negatively for the sustainable economic growth and economic sustainability of the stability of the country. The economical inefficiencies are taking place in the country due to the excessive power that the government is possessing, and private businesses are under threat of the government and complying for the government decisions, even though it's affecting the businesses negatively, has become a major challenge for private businesses in Russia. As a result of this, many international companies such as IKEA and Tesco are not willing to invest in Russia due to their excessive government intervention. In 2010, IKEA announced that it was halting constructions of $1 billion mall and would focus on existing stores. France's Auchan and German retail chains Revive and Metro are targeting the grocery market. By contrast, Carrefour and UK-based Tesco do not yet have a market presence due to the perceived risk, and Walmart recently closed its Moscow office. So, over to you, PV.
Introduction of the problem. As the first thing, we identified the Pussy Riot band case. Pussy Riot is a Russian feminist protest and performance art group based in Moscow that became popular for its provocative punk rock music, which later turned into a more accessible style. In 2012, after attempting to perform an anti-criminal song in an Orthodox cathedral, 3 of the activists were arrested and convicted of anti-religious hooliganism. After this, Anna Politkovskaya, a reporter for Russia's Novaya Gazeta, often filed stories critical of President Vladimir Putin. In addition, reporters of Russia often filed stories critical of President Vladimir Putin. Russia's energy industry is dominated by a handful of huge conglomerates. The Russian economy is constrained by bureaucratic shackles. As the economic downturn deepened, standards tightened around the globe, credit lines from Russia's bank dried up. Now, Russia's dependence on a single commodity for the bulk of its export earnings has turned out to be a liability. If the economy is to grow, these chains be dropped. If government can overcome this feudal system or using power, they can create a stimulus for strong and sustainable economic growth and improve the standards of living. This political risk, which demotivate the private business owners, are restraining the nation's economic growth. In December 2012, President Barack Obama signed the Russia and Moldova Jackson-Vanik Repeal and Sergei Magnitsky Rule of Law Accountability Act. Russia joined the World Trade Organization in 2012. For this reason, Jackson-Vanik is no longer relevant. Let's move on to the discussion. The first problem of this case we have to address is discuss why the Putin government decided to pursue legal action against the members of Pussy Riot. By the end of 2012, the Putin government was generating global publicity again, but this time the issue was on a smaller cultural level. Controversy erupted after members of feminist punk rock band Pussy Riot were arrested following a brief performance at the Christ the Savior Cathedral in Moscow. The band was known for its anti-Putin stunts and provocative lyrics. One of the band's songs is titled Holy Mary, Blessed Virgin, Drive Putin Away. Because of that, Pussy Riot was arrested. The reason with anti-Putin lyrics was included in the causing the government try to shut them down in any way possible. 3 of the brand members were charged with hooliganism motivated by religious hatred. After a lengthy legal process, 2 members sentenced to 2-year prison terms in a remote part of Siberia. I invite Amma to continue this presentation.
The impact of Magnitsky Law on the political and legal environment in Russia. Let's know about Magnitsky Act. The Magnitsky Act, formerly known as the Russia and Moldova Jackson-Vanik Repeal and Sejdic-Magnitsky Rule of Law Accountability Act of 2012, is a bipartisan bill passed by the US Congress and signed into law by President Barack Obama in December 2012, intending to punish Russian officials responsible for the death of Russian tax lawyer Sergei Magnitsky in a Moscow prison in 2009, and also to grant permanent normal trade relations status to Russia. In 2009, Russian tax lawyer Sergei Magnitsky died in a Moscow prison after investigating a $230 million fraud involving Russian tax officials. He was accused of committing the fraud himself by Russian officials and detained. While in prison, he was not given medical treatment for months. After almost a year of imprisonment, he was beaten to death while in custody under suspicious circumstances. His friend, Bill Brower, a prominent American-born businessman working extensively in Russia after the collapse of the Soviet Union, published the case and lobbied American officials to pass legislation sanctioning Russia individuals involved in corruption. Impact of the Magnitsky Law. As the main intention of the law, Russian officials who were responsible for the death of Sergei Magnitsky were punished by prohibiting their entrance to the United States and their use its banking system. And also, it normalized trade relations with Russia and Moldova by repealing Jackson-Vanik, which denied most favored nation trading status to any country that blocked immigration rights. Therefore, today citizens are free to travel abroad and emigrate. Moreover, Russia joined the World Trade Organization in 2012. It provides American businesses access to Russia's newly opened markets as a result of Moscow's recent membership in the World Trade Organization. In response to the adoption of the Magnitsky Act, the Russian government denied Americans adoption of Russian children. Russia released a list of banning 18 Americans from entering Russia for alleged human rights violations. In 2013, Russia proposed laws to prevent US citizens from working with political NGOs in Russia, and also eventually ABNOs prevented any foreigner from speaking on state television if they discredited the state. And then the Europe Magnitsky Act was passed, adding to existing sanctions, which include asset freezing and import ban on items from the Crimea, Sevastopol, and a ban on tourism to the same areas against Russia based on human rights violations. Over to you, Pasandu.
Thank you, Amma. The third problem in our case of the chief marketing officer of the global company would you recommend that establish operation in the Russia. Although some companies have experienced success through capitalizing on the Russia current improved economic climate, we would not choose the established operation in the Russia due to the lengthy list of the perceived risks. As the case has identified, many global companies have had to bring their image into the Russian economy to a halt. For example, Akia, Rachel, and Dixie. Other global companies such as the world's largest retailer, Walmart, pulled out of the Russian market entirely in late 2010 due to the cultural and bureaucratic conflict. To conclude, due to the political risk earlier, along with the corruption result of the 2014, the risk outweighed the benefit too much to establish operation. A substantial amount of the perceived risk is involved with established operation in the Russia, such as corruptive acts of the government official, example, bribery, profit thief, and unjust access prison to civilian regulate marketing and taxing. There are other problems as well. Russia's infant bureaucracy is a barrier to increase economic freedom. Further, banking system remains fragile and needs reform. Despite the political risk, a number of the global companies are rolling the dice in an effort to capitalize on Russia's improved economic climate. French Ocean and German retail chain View and Metro are targeting the grocery market. By contrast, California and UK-based Tesco do not yet have a market presence due to the perceived risk. Walmart recently closed its Moscow office as the global economy downturn deepened and lending stand tightened around the globe. Credit lines from Russia's bank dried up. Now, Russia's depends on the single commodity from the bulk of its export earning has turned out to be a liability. That is what we say we would wait until the political climate and economic downturn in Russia improve a bit more. I would like to invite Udara.
When we consider the Russian government's response to the Magnitsky Law, Russia is an extremely powerful country in terms of military and economic strength. Examining past and present events, Russia has never remained silent in a way that is detrimental to its country. In such a case, they respond by taking strict action. The Russian government will likely consider the US move to pass the Magnitsky Act as an antagonism to Russia. This will cause the long-standing dispute between the two countries to intensify. Through this law, Russia will consider countries that act against Russia as enemy states. The Russian government is likely to freeze trade supplies against countries that oppose Russia, including the United States. For example, Russia has stopped exporting products such as fuel, gas, and wheat flour to Europe states that are opposed to the conflict with Ukraine. The import of products from countries that are acting against Russia will be stopped. They tend to make and export substitute products in Russia for products that are imported from against countries. As well as Russia is an UN veto country. Therefore, there is high possibility that Russia will act against that country in an international problem. Also, this situation is likely to escalate into a war. In conclusion, we can come up with main 3 points. In this case, the involvement of government in the business activities is at higher levels. The government gets to take part in most of the business corruption activities. In addition, the economic climate with the influence of government create risk not only for the political side as well as the business risk also. As a country, we have to consider the basic elements of the political, legal, and regulatory environments of global marketing, including the most present current issues, and offer some suggestions for dealing with those issues, such as rules for exporting and importing industrial and consumer products, standards for health and safety, and regulations regarding packaging, labeling, advertising, and promotion. Yumi?
Okay, these are our group members. Thank you for your support and commitment. I firstly introduce our group members as the first Udara Madhushani. Then USW Gunasekara, BP Deshan, AMSH Adhikari, PR Gunasekara, AS Jayasinghe, DM Pumisewandi, EKGDC Ekanayaka, HSSN De Silva, and finally D. Deneti Madhumali. This is our group members. Have a nice day.